Hi, this episode is going to be covering some dark and triggering topics, mostly the talk of death. But anyways, now that that's out of the way, hi, I'm Salem. I'm Salem, and once again, I'm here with Phoenix.
Hello.
And today we're talking about definitely something that I've totally not been hyperfixating on for the past, 6 days now?
Yeah, something like that.
Natural disasters, but more specifically volcanoes, and even more specifically Mount Vesuvius, and even more specifically the eruption of Pompeii. So that's fun.
Pompeii, the city, erupted, as we all know.
Yeah, the city just kind of fucking... but no, Mount Vesuvius is most well known for the tragedy of Pompeii on August 24th, 79 CE. The volcano is located on the Gulf of Naples in Italy, and the tragedy of Pompeii is one of its most well-known eruptions, covering the city in about 3 meters of ash and pumice. And once pumice is just basically cooled volcanic glass.
It's very, not dense.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it floats, actually.
Most deaths resulted from asphyxiation and being crushed from debris, and most bodies were wonderfully preserved in the ash, so we get to recount some of their last moments based on the positioning of said bodies. So... let's get into the eruption itself. The volcano erupted on August 24th, though due to wind patterns, some historians think that this date may actually be wrong. More on this soon. The eruption happened midday, shooting debris into the sky and caused avalanches and destructions around the mountain and into the city. The next day, it burst with blistering and burning gases, destroying the city. So this brings the question of why didn't they see the warning signs? The smoke, the rumbling, the earthquakes. Well, days before, the Festival of Volcanalia was happening, and it celebrated the god of fire and volcanoes, so signs of tragedy were interpreted as signs of Vulcan being hard at work in the forge. And with the festival, the death total was much higher than need be. And with lack of preparation, the seemingly sudden eruption, evacuation was difficult, and many tried to escape via the sea, but the wind was at a standstill. Also, there are other accounts where they said, oh yeah, the ocean's fucking boiling.
I want a boiling ocean.
No.
The boiling lake. The blood lake.
Ah!
It's almost as red as Republican Texas.
One of the only written accounts comes from Pliny the Younger. Quote, "In the darkness you could hear the crying of women, the wailing of infants, and the shouting of men. Some prayed for help, others wished for death, but still more imagined that there were no gods left and that the universe was plunging into eternal darkness."
Same. Me when I wake up every morning.
Not only does this give us a visualization of the fear, it makes the eruption so much more terrifying. Another quote saying, quote, "They were so afraid of death that they prayed for death." Pliny's uncle decided to attempt a rescue mission, but unfortunately was also a victim of the eruption as well. Quote, "When the daylight returned on the 26th, 2 days after the last day he had been seen, his body was found intact and uninjured, still fully clothed and looking more like a sleep than a death." So this is where we're about to get talking into the bodies and the actual dead. It's going to be a little short segment. The city was left unbothered and preserved until around the 1700s, besides the grave robbing. There was a lot of grave
It was fine, except for the grave robbing, which there was lots of.
No, there was, they left most of the bodies alone, but there was just a lot of, valuable stolen.
At what point does it stop being grave robbing and starts being archaeology?
It gets weirder. Most people who, grave robbed returned the artifacts claiming they were cursed.
I would keep that if it was cursed, honestly. I'd give it to Yannick.
Brought bad luck and whatnot, and people were so scared. Whether that was out of guilt or maybe they actually believed in the curse, we don't know. But around 1700s, the bodies began to be exhumed and observed, and leading us to see some of the tragic moments. Many people were unable to prepare, let alone evacuate the city. Many of the corpses were seen writhing in pain, and one is seen crawling, trying to escape the ash. Of course, we can't really know for sure what they were doing, but it's really not hard to assume. And one of my favorite things about this is a set of corpses was found together, and everyone's like, oh, look at this straight couple. But it was literally 2 men found together, crawled in each other's laps. Oh. And one thing historians and archaeologists seem to forget is how
gay the Mediterranean was.
Yeah.
And people are gay, Gerald.
Fucking Gerald.
We couldn't think of a name.
I've never met a good Gerald.
I've never met a Gerald, but I've met a Jared, and he tried to stab my eye out. Not kidding.
Jesus ticks.
That was in, like, 2nd grade, I think.
Fuck Jared. Homie, my homie.
Anyway.
So, what's going on with Mount Vesuvius now? So, this is where I actually had a lot of fun researching this area of, like, volcanoes and, like, the science behind it. Real quick, using seismic data is super fucking easy. It's so easy, people are just stupid. So what's going on with Mount Vesuvius now? The volcano is still a very much an active volcano, with the last eruption around March of 1944. Mount Vesuvius is what's known as a somastratovolcano. In basically, this means that the volcanic caldera erupted and then filled itself with a new volcanic cone. So, good for that. But basically, it erupted and reformed internally, and now the most recent eruptions have been less catastrophic than the tragedy of Pompeii, and with our modern technology, we're able to detect the risk of an eruption, and we're almost 80 years without a large eruption, but obviously, that doesn't mean that there's never going to be one again, and there's actually a high chance of it erupting within our lifetime again.
It's going to happen soon. Just going to make the world worse. Love that for us.
Mount Vesuvius is still one of the closest monitored volcanoes in the world, and in 2019, the earthquake levels spiked, and the seismic data is being monitored closely right now, preparing for another eruption. Mount Vesuvius is an effusive and explosive eruption, which means, in theory, if another large eruption were to happen, not only would it just be thick magma running down the sides, but ash, debris, and everything would just spurt into the air very, very violently.
Also me when I wake up.
With the 1944 eruption, most of the active area was the summit and the upper flanks of the mountain, and that was another tragic event. And while some eruptions in the past seemed to be minor, the 1944 eruption was a 3 on the volcanic explosivity index, which rates from a scale of 0 to 8. Only 26 people died in this eruption, though, compared to, Pompeii.
Hey, that could have been us.
Damn, double homicide.
Unfortunately not.
So what about the future of this mountain? What is likely to happen?
They're gonna demolish it and put in a new development.
Yeah.
Like a shopping mall. They decided it's behind the times.
So what would happen if this mountain were to erupt once more? Simply put, a devastating tragedy. There are 800,000 people who are in the red zone, and if they aren't evacuated before the mountain erupts, they're gonna die, and the gases and ash are just gonna kill them. Though Italy has an evacuation plan, it's just not a promising one, but it's a plan at least.
Love Italy.
In a modular run, the Italian government saw that would take about 2 weeks to properly evacuate the red zone, but unfortunately, the volcanic eruption is most likely going to be more sudden and give, at most, a warning sign of 3 days. And that just makes this weirder because people are just refusing to move because the mountain is being heavily monitored for any signs of unrest, and the Italian government is trying to convince residents to move away with payouts and promises, though odd enough many residents don't wish to move. I mean, I don't know if they have a death wish or if it's just they have roots there. It's just
probably that one.
But the thing is it's an active volcano. It's shown signs that it's going to erupt again, and that means if it does, not only is it going to be the red zone, Naples.
I would live next to an active volcano.
Okay, we get it.
No, it's not even that. That just seems cool. I mean, probably not one that would explode like that, but like.
Yeah.
I could live in Iceland.
You would pretty much die if you were in the red zone or very close to it. You're basically you won't originally die. That's not what I was gonna say.
Yeah, no, death isn't original anymore. It's been happening for millions of years.
You won't die from suffocation. You're gonna die from the heat shock, because it's just gonna hit you, and that's what killed on the eruption of Mount St. Helena. There were 2 geologists on the side of the mountain that was probably the main thing that killed them. And then there's ash, suffocation, and I could go into Mount St. Helena because that just pisses me off, and it's all the governor's fault that so many people died.
Understandable. Although if you want to avoid heat stroke or whatever, my PE teacher says wear light clothes. Sorry, I'm not funny. Anyway.
Closing thoughts before we get into our wonderful sidebar that we usually do.
Yeah, we do have. Okay.
The 79 CE eruption was not the first eruption, but is clearly the most memorable based on the tragedy of Pompeii. The mountain silence is not a good sign, and that just means the pressure is building up. The longer the silence, the deadlier the eruption will be. The fear of this mountain is that it will erupt suddenly and without warning. The death toll can rise to over 1 million in only 15 minutes of the eruption but the 16-kilometer radius, another source says 250 kilometers, the radius around the mountain is considered a red zone. And the city of Pompeii is just basically a tourist attraction at this point. Which, yeah, I want to go visit Pompeii, obviously, but I'm not going to fucking live there. Because there's nowhere to live.
Oh.
But yeah, It's very interesting, and I had to keep the script to where it was. Otherwise, the more research, the more convoluted this episode was going to be.
Yay. Closing thoughts? No, I'm kidding.
That was closing thoughts before sidebar. I don't know where we're going with sidebar. If you have anything interesting to say or add to my wonderful...
No, not really.
Yeah, so...
Oh, wait, we were going to talk about the thingy. Fun fact, the different day. They thought it happened on a different day.
Yeah, so,
I'm words.
Yeah, so basically, for 79 CE, they're like, oh, in the diary it was written August 29th. But it's going to be a different day in modern times because the calendar changed.
They used to have a 10-month calendar, and that's why December, which is the 12th month, actually means the 10th month in Latin or something like that. I don't speak Latin.
But the reason they figured this out was because of the wind patterns. Because in Pliny the Younger's diary, it was like, yeah, the wind's at an absolute fucking standstill. So it's like, oh yeah, this is probably later in the year. Because usually it's a windy beach, you know. But yeah, if that mountain's to erupt, Naples, you're kind of fucked. Cope, I guess.
That's not the proper thing to tell a city.
The fuck do I look like? City management?
Yes.
Oh.
I'll be a Karen and ask for the city's manager.
I am the city.
I like to complain about the street. It's very street-like.
Cope. There's also, I believe that Mount Vesuvius is actually not the only volcano, in Italy.
No, there's...
Well, because of the Ring of Fire and everything.
So, yeah.
But if Vesuvius was to erupt, it'd be the most deadly.
That is... Oh, I don't even have... Okay, anyway.
But, yeah, no. I did a lot of research about volcanoes. Mount Vesuvius is actually the one I did the least of. You looking at the Ring of Fire?
Yeah, it's not in Italy. Hey, excuse me.
Well, no,
Anyway. Ooh, we should talk about Mariana's Trench.
Fuck, yeah, we should. Anyways, that was episode 2 of Hyperactive History, and that's just me talking about volcanoes. I fucking love volcanoes. I won't stick my dick in one, I promise, but I love them.
That makes it sound like you will.
I won't stick my dick in a volcano. Anyways, that's it for today. Have a good day. Don't fall in a volcano, I guess.
Or do, if that's your prerogative. Bye.